Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 18 of SuperSports, the review series for the exotic vehicles of Gran Turismo 6, old and new, vehicles which are not quite full-on supercars but are definitely superior to your average sports car. And this vehicle pretty much epitomises what this series is all about. It is a supersports car in the purest sense. It's the Aston Martin V12 Vantage. It's about as exotic as a supersports car can get before being a full-on supercar. So what does it have to offer? Because being as it is a British model, you can never really be too sure what to expect when it comes to British exotics on Gran Turismo. Some are represented pretty well, like the Esprit, perhaps even too well. Others are represented arguably as they should be, like the Jaguar XKR or the Lotus Elise. Others kind of fall shy of the mark, and some fall very shy of the mark, and we won't get into those because I'll end up in a rant. So how does this car fare? Well, happily, it fares pretty well. It's not going to break any records anytime soon, but it fares pretty well. Now, British supersports cars, and also British supercars, and even British sports cars, to be honest, aren't really known generally for being the cars that you buy when you want to set a record or necessarily win a race. They're certainly capable of it, and they have done so in the past many times. But that's just not really the market that British manufacturers go for generally. They go for more exclusive and classy sports cars, which is why you get cars like Marcos, Aston Martin, Jaguar, TVR, cars which can win races and set lap times, but aren't really designed for that. They're just designed to be nice cars that you want to own. Cars which are all about the pleasure of driving rather than just the pleasure of coming first in a race. And I like that. This car is a perfect example of that, because although it's certainly capable of winning races, that's not what this car's all about. It's no Nissan GTR, that's for sure. It's powered by a 5.9 litre naturally aspirated V12, which is a very, very strong engine in this car. It produces, when fully tuned, 714 horsepower, which is very impressive for a naturally aspirated engine, and 511 foot-pounds of torque. However, this is an Aston Martin that we're talking about, so it's never exactly going to be worrying to Lotus anytime soon when it comes to weight. It's a reasonably heavy car, especially considering that this is the hardcore version of the Vantage series. It still weighs 1,345 kilos even after the full weight loss package, and although that's not too bad, certainly not as bad as some, it does make the power to weight ratio per tonne suffer a little bit on paper, at least, at 531. Now that is still roughly the same kind of power to weight ratio as a Bugatti Veyron in real life, which when you put it that way sounds pretty good. But that's a stock Veyron, stock being a relative term of course, compared to a fully tuned V8 or V12 Vantage, I should say. So not too bad, but again, not class leading. In terms of performance, it's good, but not necessarily amazing. The handling is very good on this car. It could easily be a mess. A car with relatively compact proportions and a lot of power, especially naturally aspirated where the power tends to come quite high in its rev range as it does with this car, could quite easily just be like it's on ice skates all the time. But it's not. It's actually quite composed. It's definitely rabid as well, but for a hardcore track-biased vehicle, it's surprisingly composed, pretty classy to drive, and has very good, smooth handling, and a surprising amount of grip. The acceleration is very strong, as you'd expect from a vehicle with over 700 horsepower, but the only thing which I can say against the car's performance is unfortunately the top speed. It's not bad, but it's not as good as you might hope or expect. Given its power and the fact that it's a premium, you'd probably expect a top speed of about 250 miles per hour minimum, possibly even 260 or 270, based on the specs of other similar vehicles on the game. Unfortunately though, it's nowhere near that. It does 240. So as I said, it's not bad, it's just not as good as you might hope. And that's really the only thing that lets the car down overall. The top speed is a lot slower than many other super sports cars with similar spec. It's also pretty expensive. It costs just under 220,000 credits. But overall, I would say that a vehicle like this is worth it. And I'm not just saying that because it's a British car and I'm British. That really does not mean anything to me. I don't have much respect for most British cars. This one, though, is very good. The PP is also pretty reasonable at 583. Much more than that, it would start losing out on competitiveness. But overall, it's very good at that level. So if you're looking for a super sports car which is capable of winning, but is more about enjoying racing rather than just winning at all costs, then this is a good car for you. So I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.